It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 29. This is round number 10, and we head to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Hashtag Corner Cut Central for the Canadian Grand Prix. My name is Jess, and joining me, as per usual, we got Owen White. How you doing?
Hello Jess, hello viewers, and welcome to Canada. Full grid today. Can't wait to see the creative lines that the drivers are going to come up with today.
Exactly. He's been hosting the Canadian Grand Prix since 1978. There was a few track modifications since then, but to be honest, it's one of my favourite tracks on the calendar. But I've been speaking to the drivers today. They do not like it very much because of the corner cuts that can easily happen and the possible rain that we could see in the race. But we don't see any rain at the moment. Good news, which is great to see. A few changes in the driver lineups this week. Cornet, who is the championship leader, is moved over to F1 full time. So we got Patsy in the Mercedes tonight. Obviously, we got Netsky, who's now full time. He's in the Aston Martin. Jensen in the Haas as well. So yeah, completely change of the championship leader now, with Baraka still the championship leader, effectively after tonight, obviously because they're quite close together anyway, but they just keep moving up, these guys. But again, championship wide open. This has got to be Baraka's race tonight. It's got to be.
Well, we've been waiting for him to really explode, and this could be his chance. I do wonder again how he sort of feels about this, though, where all his championship rivals are being moved out of his way. He hasn't won a race this season. He has had 3 podiums and 2 second places, but yeah, maybe not the best way to lead the championship. But if he can dominate the season from here on out, and hopefully, it sounds weird, I hope he doesn't get promoted, so we can just have him do the whole season with the championship, because that's the annoying thing about the start of a game cycle. All the good drivers here sadly get moved away from us.
Yeah, it's happened every season, I think, in this game cycle. Well, in the last game cycle as well. The ones who are leading the championship got moved up to F1 either as a reserve or full-time, you know. But at least it gives more drivers a chance to score some decent points, because there could be people that give up halfway through because the ones are dominating at the top. So that's one bonus for some of the drivers, I guess, as well. So it's quite overcast at the moment out on the track, but we've got Baraka and Benny on the inters. I don't know why. I guess they don't want to use the softs early on, because they don't have enough soft to use. And it is a track where the 2-stop is definitely more viable than the 1-stop, because of the huge undercut that these drivers are going to be getting. It's either going to be soft, medium, or it's going to be medium to hard. But I don't think people will be trying the 1-stop, because the hards are not as viable around here. So yeah, one of the first tracks on this game where we could see the 2-stop again. Portugal, we did see quite a few people do the 2-stop, but not everyone tried it. This race, I think everyone's going to try it, unless there's going to be any rain or safety cars.
Yeah, this has always been the traditional 2-stop track. It never seems to work the 1-stop, and so I'm sure there'll always be someone that tries it, but I do agree that the sort of main strategy tonight will be that 2-stop. We're still waiting for the first time to come up on the screen. There's a Mercedes crossing the line, but that's not a proper lap. At best will be the first proper lap at 1 minute 8.8. Now we're expecting times in the low 1 minute 8s, possibly even the 1 minute 7s, but that is highly ambitious. But these guys can do it. I believe in them.
Yes, I think I was asking the drivers what they were going to achieve tonight. There was some people that were joking they were going to get into the 107s, but you never know. I think one of them was Kazizzle. He set personal best of 107 in time trial, but can he translate it into qualifying? It's a different man, because in some cases, time trial is faster, but we are starting to see times in the times you would be expecting, with a 108.5 for Valentine. Recon crosses the line now. He's a 108.8, and then we got an Aston Martin and a Haas as well coming across the line. That is, I think, Valentine's teammate Jensen 109.0. He's on the mediums though. Again, he doesn't want to use the softs right away as well. And I think one of the Aston Martins has either invalidated or is on is flying. No, I think it was Netsky that is invalidated. Sadly, not everyone has set laps yet, which is to be expected, as Will Murdoch goes 6th fastest, but not a representative lap time. I know you can go faster than that, but we'll see what these drivers can do, of course, with the lap times we got on board. But some pretty decent laps from the top 4 at the moment in the 108s.
Yeah, good stuff to get the bankers on the board. I mean, we've seen in the early stages so many drivers invalidating their lap times. It's so important to make sure you are getting those laps in, because even if they aren't going fastest, just having the laps on the board could be crucial at the end of the session. Now, will, I'm sure, be 1 or 2 people who just don't get a lap in because of how difficult it is around here. But yeah, Valentine for Haas at the top at the moment, as Reese has just gone 3rd fastest. You'll also notice tonight, I'm sure you've seen it plenty already, but there are some changes to the cars this week. And for probably the next few weeks. For instance, Red Bull's now white. Aston Martin's had its sort of car change a little bit as well, but for the most part, everything's all normal. Just don't get confused when you see the Red Bull. It is not a Haas, and it's not an Alfa Romeo. It certainly will be a Red Bull. Neither of those two up there too much. Those two just crossed the line. He's gone 12th fastest. Slowest of the proper representative times, but still, only 7/10 separate those quick times, and 2 of those from Louis and Jensen were on the mediums.
Yeah, I have to say, Jensen and Louis' medium times is pretty good as well. So imagine what their lap times are going to be on the soft compounded tyres as well, because Zizzle now heads through turn 8 now to finish off his lap at the moment. Turn 8 is a common corner people could invalidate, and now he heads towards the kink of turn 9 and heading in towards turn 10, which is the infamous hairpin. He handles that quite nicely. A very tight line he takes there in the Ferrari, of course, and he's looking to get some more points this race as well, because we do not have long to go until the end of the season. Time does fly away when you're having fun. As Kazizzle heads towards the final corner, be careful to not basically hit the wall of champions. Kazizzle sets the timing screen to light with a 108.5, puts him in P3, not that far off the likes of Suko and Valentine, so pretty decent lap time for him. Gil is on 2 laps on soft, so he'll probably be going into the pits soon. No one else, I think, is on a lap again, apart from maybe because he's always on a push lap. No, he's not. So everybody is probably going to go into the pits again. We'll see how last week's race winner, Netsky, does in the Alfa Romeo. He's currently in the pits at the moment. One of 4 drivers actually, not to set a lap time. Our current championship leader, Baraka, has not set a lap time either. Neither has Benny and neither has Gil. Benny is back after a few races off, but let's see if he can break off the rust this week, because it must be hard going into a race without racing for the last 2 weeks. But I'm sure he can handle it in this Alpha Tower. He has to start his out lap at the moment. He's got some clear air though, so that should benefit him a little bit. Don't forget, slipstream is banned in this league in qualifying, so the clearer air, the better. So he heads towards turn 1, and we'll see if he can not invalidate his lap time. Same with Netsky as he's going through turn 4 on his out lap, so he just came out of the pit.
So through sector 1 then goes Benny. He's nearly hitting the wall as he heads through 3 and 4, but has kept it all facing the right direction. We've seen a couple of cars losing it through here, through 6 and 7, but Benny's kept it all on the road. An easy DRS zone to forget this one, but it is vital to your lap. I have seen a few people forget it before, and I forgot it myself. Benny has now invalidated his lap time. Again, those chicanes, there's so many of them. And yeah, catching the Alpha Tauri driver out, unfortunately, at the moment. And that'll be his time not counting, so he will remain down in P19. Jensen's also on a lap, but he has also invalidated it.
Yes, I think they kind of cornered too much, I think, around here, finding their limits a little bit. So, but at least some of these drivers, they got a lap time on the board. But for 3 drivers and 4 drivers, it is too much to be invalidating right now. If you invalidate 2 laps in a row, then you're probably going to struggle with your final lap. It's going to be kind of like a one-shot qualifying. There's a lot of people that like the pressure, but there's some people that absolutely hate that pressure. So the quicker you can get your lap time initially, the more confidence you will get as well. As Valentine is heading past turn 4 and now heading towards this apex, heading towards the DRS streets. Purple set to 1 at the moment, so he is looking to capitalise on his P1 time. He's having some bad luck this season already. Could this be the race where it turns around? Starting on pole here, I feel like is quite crucial because of the run down into turn 1 as well, and the priority you get in terms of picking your strategy in terms of your teammate as well, so you won't get caught in traffic overly. So he heads past the hairpin into the DRS straight. There's quite a few DRS straights around this circuit tonight as well, so plenty of action zones to watch out for. And we'll see, I didn't see his set to 2 time, but it's looking quite a tidy lap from our pole sitter. And I think it could be a much quicker lap time unless he may have bowled in the final sector. It is a quicker lap time by 3:10 actually. What a lap from him. He could be the first one into the 107s, and he's not even on the lowest fuel mode, I don't think. So decent lap from the Haas driver. And Rizza goes across the line into P2, just beat Suku by a few hundredths of a second.
Yep, Suko still out there, and he's heading towards the wall of champion chicane. He's only improving by enough to go second fastest though at the moment. Valentine's time is looking very strong at the moment as Gil moves up to 2nd place and Suko moves up into 3rd place. Who else is out there closing their laps? So we have a Mercedes out there. That would be of
Paxi,
and he's gone 6th fastest. We've also got a few more there. It's difficult to sort of keep an eye on it. It's Netsky on a lap right now. That's his teammate Hadler crossing the line. No major improvement from him. But Netsky still has to get a time on the board, so we've got to keep our eyes on him and see if he can get a time there, because we are expecting him to be up there again, because he's shown such good pace, especially winning last time out. Let's see where he goes. He's got a little bit of restriction there as well, as he moves up into P8. That was the Alpine helping him nicely down that main straight. But yeah, his first proper time on the board, not massively quick, because this was on a slow one, so as he messed up potentially on that attempt. How is his teammate doing? Also going around slowly. Baraka has gone up to 2nd place, not quite enough to go P1, but still ahead of his championship rivals, which is good for him, of course. CC Brain up by a decent amount. This could be on for a top 6, and he might get some slipstream as well. Might have gained a mile an hour or 2, possibly, on the Red Bull. There's a Mercedes, Alpine, and another Mercedes, but I think they're all heading to the pit lane. So CC Brain will have a clear run to the finish line. Nowhere near as aggressive through there as Valentine was. You can see why Valentine's in P1 and CC Brain does convert and go P6.
And there's only a few tenths difference between P1 and P6, and even if he finds a bit more difference, that would put him near the front row. So this grid is already close already with a short lap around this circuit. Ashbeth comes across the line into P6. Haven't seen him in the top 10 in a while. Good to see him there, of course. Benny is about to cross the line into P18 with a 1090, so that just leaves Cohen, the newest full-time driver in the league, replacing Deso, to not set a representative lap time. Everyone else in the 108, 109s. Jensen, I believe, will come across the line again, 109085. Who's next? I think we got on McLaren, but I think they're all going into the pits maybe, so it might be Fabi who is coming across the line, and it is P6 for him. And the teammates between Fabi and Ashbeth, they're quite close by a few hundreds as well, so they are working together quite a lot. And next would be, I think, an Alpine of
Simo, I think.
No, it was Simo. It's hard to tell with the colours as he goes through the Wall of Champions chicane now, and he takes it a little bit more cautious than what Valentine can do, and the same with Baraka. So Simo 108.845, 1 tenth slower than his previous best, so he wasn't quite comfortable this lap, but I think it was his final sector that lost him a bit of time there. But he's still not last at the moment. A few attempts and that can put him inside the top 10, but probably he would be aiming for 11th, 12th place, because you don't really want to be aiming 8th, 9th or 10th really, because that is the worst place to start on the grid, because everyone else that's close behind you will be starting on the alternate strategy, because they'll be probably most likely be starting on the mediums. 4 minutes left to go. Everyone now is going to be going into the pits, and there'll be one final lap before the end of qualifying, and then we'll see who will be the fastest man on track. Could we see a different pole position today? But at the moment it's looking like Valentine will be the one to deny everyone of that, but we have seen surprises here in F2 where people get pole right on the line, but we'll have to find out very shortly.
You saw the advantage there for Valentine of having a banker lap in, especially a quick banker lap, because other drivers just were not anywhere near as aggressive as he was on his second lap, and he was able to afford that since he was already P1 going into that second run. He's already P1 going into the final run, so he can afford to risk it a little bit more. Sure, it might cost him, but the fact is he has the confidence now. And for those drivers like Cohen, Benny, others at the back who just haven't quite got the laps together, these final runs could be so difficult. Because you know now, one more mistake and there's 4 chicanes on this track, all equally as difficult. It could really mess you up at the end of this qualifying session. But we do have a few cars getting ready to start their final runs now. First one being, I think, Paxi in the Mercedes, just passing the Haas there of Jensen, and preparing to start his final run.
He's got some clear traffic ahead of him, so he's probably done the right thing going out early. He could get a few runs here, but you don't really want to be starting the race on worn tyres. You want to be starting the race on maybe one lap old, but if he wants to try and qualify P11, it may not be a bad thing as well. And there will be people trying to get out of the pits now. We got a huge traffic jam going through sector 2 right now, and it's probably the danger that if you haven't left the pits now, then you're probably going to be in a lot of trouble on your final lap, because there's not going to be much room to slow down and get some clear air, and then everyone else is going to try and do the same, and it's going to be like a chain reaction all the way through the lap, and you're more than likely not going to improve. So that is good news for Paxi, as he's slowed down a little bit as he's invalidated in turn 8. So he's not going to improve on his lap, as Netsky will be the next person to start his probably final lap. So I don't think he's going to go on 2 laps. So let's say he doesn't make the same mistake as he can as well. The race winner from last week's time, P17 at the moment. Not quite where he needs to be, but still ever so close between the rest of the field, so anything can happen as well. And I think we've got the Alpine starting a lap. Everyone's about to start their lap, also bunched together. It's going to be quite difficult to catch who's on a lap and who's not, but everyone I think's out on track now, unless your Simo is still in the pit. So I don't think Simo is going to go out on time. If I was Simo, I would go out now. So
he's okay, I think, just about.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a too close for comfort territory there, but he's going out anyway, and let's hope he doesn't get caught up in traffic on his out lap, because otherwise he won't be able to set a final run. And yeah, I think he should be fine as long as he doesn't slow down too much.
Netsky's on a good run here. Let's see if he can convert. What an aggressive run. He's hit the wall through that wall champion chicane, but you know, he's kept the momentum up and he crosses the line. Not as big an improvement as he would have wanted, but it is P12. Not the worst place to be starting if you're looking at the strategy. How is his teammate getting along? He's gone up to P11. That's the perfect place if you're not going to be on pole position. And now, Baraka is starting a lap. Cohen yet to get a lap, and he's still not got one, so he's going to have to make this run the run. Valentine's slow. His teammate is starting a lap. Is Benny on one? No, that's his teammate crossing the line. Kazizzle, his teammate is crossing the line as well. A lot of people just backing off and waiting to see those timing screens light up as Paxi goes up into P7 and a few more across the line. Benny is out of qualifying. I think he's had an accident there actually.
Turn
so that's
9.
him done and out of the session. And is Simo going to make it in time? Yes, he is, just about. And we're at that stage now where all these times coming through are pretty much the final tries. Recon has put it in P5, and Fabi didn't quite make it in time to get another improvement on his time, or he's gone to the pits actually. That's probably why he's got the checker flag on his name. But yes, who's going to be next? We've got 2 Aston Martins, and that could be both heading towards the pit lane because they've already finished their time, so they weren't able to do anything on their second runs. Baraka is down and out. He has got his invalid lap, so nothing he can do about that now. Here comes Cohen. Is he going to get a lap on the board? Yes, he is. It's gone P13. Next up is Jensen for Haas. He's stayed in P18. Next up will be CC Brain. He's gone to P5. Ferrari Daniel goes into P4. We see Suko not improving. We see Will Murdoch not improving. Next up we've got, I believe, Gil. And doesn't find enough for a pole position. Here comes Valentine. Doesn't find enough either. Simo doesn't find enough either. Is anyone going to be able to find their time in this last run? Ash Best goes up into 4th place. Decent lap from him, a purple final sector. Here comes Recon back into the pit lane.
Because it was invalidated.
Yeah, I think that means that's us then. So, those banker runs. Valentine, it's worked out for him because no one was able to find anything in that last session. And since he got the fastest of the first 2 runs, it's paid dividends for him, and he finds himself on pole once again this season. But will he finally be able to finish a race?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
I think everybody in the F2 chat is also hoping that at least one Haas or 2, even 2, finish the race tonight. I think us commentators are wanting to do the same as well. But he's starting in a prime position in Canada as well, and I think it's just crucial that you just got to get it right early on, because if you don't, no one improved, I don't think, apart from Ash Best. So Ash Best, I think, was 6th or 7th, but now he's 4th. But apart from that, nobody else made the big jump he would have liked. And I thought someone was going to get in the 181s, 180s, but maybe the track conditions could have been a factor, but we'll see how it affects in the race. We've got Valentine from Baraka, from Gil, Ash Best, Daniel, Simo, CC Brain, Recon, Louis, Suko. They'll be starting on the soft tyres if it's a dry session. Outside the top 10, they have 3 choices: Paxi, Fabi, Cohen, Haller, Rizza, Netsky, Kazizzle, Jensen, Will Murdoch and Benny. And that is your 20-car grid for the Canadian Grand Prix in F2. So there we go. And we'll see how everyone does and see if anyone can climb their way up the field. Starting in the middle around this track, I've experienced it around here, is an absolute nightmare. So if you're like P8, P9, P10, that's the worst place to start, like I said earlier. Not just for tyres, but also because there's going to be a bunch of cars in front of you and a bunch of cars behind you trying to get past you, and you'll probably be sandwiched. So, but good news for everybody watching. You probably can't see it at the moment, but it is a dry session at the moment, completely sunny. Just a few clouds, but it is very sunny and clear at the moment.
Yes, we've seen the weather can change, but that certainly looks like it's going to be a dry race. And after Portimao last week, where we had the rain, I think we do need to see just a fully dry race. Let's just see them go for it, because this is the most interesting, probably, strategy of the season. With a 2-stop here, is letting the drivers probably be the most aggressive they can be all season. So we want to see it stay dry. Let these drivers do their thing, and we'll see what they all decide to start on. And let's see. Softs obviously for the front guys. I'd be very surprised if anyone outside the top 10 is doing anything massively surprising, as in no one on hards, and yeah, no one is on hards. Reset and Netsky have gone on softs. That's a bold call for them, maybe wanting to get those tires out of the way early on. The rest are all on mediums, and obviously those top 10, as I said, they start on what they qualified on.
I think Rizza and Netsky, I've got to agree with you, as definitely going on the bold strategy, but like we said earlier, the undercut, they only lose about 16, 17 seconds in the pit lane, so basically you're going to gain so much more time if you pit earlier than if you pit later, so, and they're probably expecting carnage up in front as well, so maybe they would want to either get the softs done early or try and climb up and gain an advantage from their competitors as well. So I can see why they've done it, and I understand why nobody's gone on the hards. You would only go on hards if you were having a horrible mare to the race. I've went on the hards before in a career mode around it. I don't advise it. It's absolutely awful around it. So softs or mediums is the way to go, and I can see why Rizza and Netsky decided to start on them. But if they don't make their way up the grid in the manner they would have wanted to, then them starting on the softs would probably be for nothing, because they're expected to climb their way up because they're 4 tenths quicker than the medium compounded tyres. Not by much, but could mean a lot of difference per lap. So we'll see how these two do as they climb up. If they get into the top 10 by lap 2 also, I would say it would be a good start to the race for them.
So we have got a front row of, well, potential. But can we see them finally get the results that they've been wanting all season? Valentin, he was on pole in France and it all went wrong. And ever since then, really, it's been a complete train wreck. He wants to get his first finish of the season. Baraka, the new charger leader, he needs his first victory of the season. And we'll see how this all pans out as we wait for the lights to come on. Even Gill in third place and Ash Best, they're all looking results as well. It's a fascinating grid. And the 5 lights are on here in Canada. And we are away. Let's see who gets the best start. Looks like Baraka's had a good one, but it's a very short run towards turn 1, so it's going to take a brave move to take the lead, because I'm sure Valentin's going to shove him off the road, and he has done. And Gill's going to try and get round the outside of turn 2 now, but Baraka should be able to hold his ground. An aggressive start for Valentin, he had to do it though, because it would have cost him the race lead if he hadn't. Ash Best holds on against Daniel, who was having a look, and I think we've seen Simo off in the wall, and that's a shame. He had a decent qualifying session, but it's all coming to nothing as the Red Bull drivers turned around, but luckily doesn't seem to be any major damage. Handler is free wide with Will Murdoch and Kazizel. That could be contact if they aren't careful, because they're still hitting each other down the straight and making it 4 wide with Jensen as well. None of the championship contenders are really involved with this type of thing, but these things can bring safety cars out, which you've got to look out for on lap 1 in Canada, because you could see people streaming into the pit lane if we get something like that. Ash Best was having a look at Gill, but didn't find a way through. I think Paxy's trying to get through on Recon, but not able to do so. He's the highest runner on the medium compound tyres as it stands, and Netsky is fighting with Risa. The 2 soft runners from outside the top 10 are giving it some now on that back straight. A really important move for whoever gets ahead here, and Suku's diving down the inside as well of Paxi into the final corner. Netsky is ahead of Risa, and he's the one who's going to be making the progress from the midfield.
Yes, and I think he's already going to try and go around the inside of Fabi, maybe heading towards turn 4. He can't do it to around these sets of corners through turn 2 and 3, but we had some very, very good starts from some of these drivers already, with the likes of Netsky and Rizet making ground as well. Louis up 2, CC Brain up 1, and I think Netsky is trying to get past Fabi. There's a very late move on the brakes there, but Fabi manages to defend that quite nicely as well, as they're now heading towards this back straight. This would be a DRS straight, but it's not activated until lap 3. So I think that's when Netsky will take advantage, but he really wants to take advantage now to see all the cars in front of him. He's already using the ERS look because he's been pushing so much. 51%, now 55, and he's probably going to gain a bit. Oh, and he almost spun a bit. How did he save that? I do not know.
I think Kazizel hit him because Kazizel went for a spin, Jess.
Oh,
and I wonder if the Ferrari driver got a bit late on the brakes, because it started to look a bit unnatural, that slide from Netsky. I wonder if Kazizel has just got it too late on the brakes. Luckily, it appears he hasn't got much damage, but will he have to pit? No, so he does stay out. Simo did pit, so perhaps there was damage from his incident. Netsky, is he under any pressure from Rissa? No, he's not, so he's got away with whatever happened down at the chicane. And they'll all move on. DRS now enabled.
Yes, indeed. So they're all in the massive DRS train now, from P1 all the way down into, I would say, P18, because Izzle, with that spin, is probably not in that train now. He's catching up a little bit. Simo is going to be probably on a 1 stop for the rest of the race, go on hards, and then maybe another set of mediums or the softs as well. I think we can see a Williams fighting with Raycon then as well. So Raycon, he absolutely controlled that move there, heading towards turn 8, even before the end of the DRS straight as well, as Louis was caught napping there as well. Soko is having an interesting fight as well, so I wonder if Louis struggling then into the hairpin. Very tight line, both of these drivers are taking at the moment, but no one has been sent into a spin. It's the closest battle on track. This is allowing Recon to pull away a little bit, so Recon must be loving it. Soko then, does he have the edge on Louis? I think he does at the moment. He's up into P8, and we got, I think, Paxi and Louis fighting at the moment, but I think Suku is struggling to make it stick at the moment, because we've got Louis still on the back of this as well. Netsky saying the fastest lap of the race so far, but he has got a time penalty. The only driver on the time penalty, but expect a lot of drivers to be on 2 warnings right now with the nature of this track, as we were discussing earlier on.
Yeah, when you get that penalty so early on, that is a sign of things to come, and especially on a track as hard as this. The penalty early on
is going to potentially lead to stuff like this as he dives down the inside of Fabi. I hope he's not driving too aggressively too early now, Netsky, because it's stuff like that which could cause you to have some incidents, as he does sit in a decent position in the championship and can still make some good ground up today. So we just need to keep his head, because we all know how quick Netsky is. And with Valentine leading the race, Baraka is only scoring 12 points, and so if Netsky can just get himself up there, it's a long shot for a title charge, but I do think he's one of the drivers who could go for it. And so he's got to just keep it on the iron and not get too flustered by what just happened on that last lap. An aggressive move, but did work though on Fabi. So fair play on that sense, I suppose.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good move as well. I've got to say, between, I think I would say, first from Baraka to around about Daniel, literally it's anybody's game. They're all so close together. It kind of reminds me of last season in terms of points as well. So all it takes is for one small mistake from the drivers in front, and then Netsky could be back in it, and he could be close to the championship fight at the moment. This is what we like to see as well. Will Murdoch gets a penalty as well, as Kazizl gets past him into turn 4. So it looks like Will Murdoch backed off a little bit as well. I think we're starting to see more penalties now. Ash Best in P4. He's got his first one as well, so they are starting to abuse the limits just a little too much, but don't be surprised if almost everyone gets a penalty. If at least 1 or 2 people don't get penalties, then they're human, but that could affect the rest of the race, because if you do not get a penalty and if there's a safety car, you can gain masses. As Netsky tries to get past Cohen, and he does, and he's up into P11. One more place and he'll be up into P10, closing up onto the other soft runners, which for him is crucial at this point, because he doesn't want to be stuck behind a medium runner, which may hold him up. Soko is fine with his teammate Recon. He does that quite nicely into the final corner, and he's up into P7. As we got our first pitter, Owen, of Louis. He's going onto the mediums pretty much quite early. I'm not sure he's picked up damage, but cheeky early undercut from Louis.
No.
Oh, what happened?
And they've hit each other, the Alpines. I mean, Suko, I don't really know what was happening there. He went very deep into turn 1, and his Recon been off again now, has he? Ah, dear, what a disaster. He must have some damage after that hit. Because what happened was, they were side by side into turn 1, and Suko just went wide and cut across the grass and hit Recon on his return to the track. Nothing too intentional, but when it's teammates hitting each other like that, it's really not what you want to see, and there must be some side pot damage or something to Recon. There's no reason why I'd be going this slowly.
Oh, Rizzo's off as well.
There's a racer in the wall as well. I don't think there's a front wing left on that car.
Nope.
And so that might bring out a virtual safety car. We have seen it before, but it does go green again. And it looks like Suko being overtaken now? Has he got damage as well after the contact? He does stay out, but Paxi in the medium compound tyres looking pretty good. Baraka as well. Just keeping Valentine in check there. He's not looking at an overtake yet, but certainly showing the Haas driver that he is absolutely there and looking not to make it 2 seasons in a row where the champion comes with 0 victories. As we see Kazizl going off for a spin. Is there any damage there? Yes, there is. Front right end plate is missing on that Ferrari now, so that'll need a pit stop to sort that out. And it's a shame, because that's the second off of the day, and he had some good pace. Back to Baraka. Is he even going to try, possibly, and make the overtake on the way into the pit lane? You know, just try and slipstream the Haas, get him, and then cut to the pit lane. That could be the strategy that they might try. Let's see, because he's using his ERS, using the DRS, of course, as well, that he'll have. And Valentine will be a bit of a sitting duck, but Baraka decides to stop using the ERS. Are these two going to follow each other into the pit? No. Baraka stays out for another lap as Valentine makes the first pit stop of the real front runners today. Suko speeding into the pit lane now as he makes his pit stop. He was fighting with the Red Bull of Cohen, who's had a decent race so far. And is there a front wing change needed for Suko? No, there is not. So he will get back out in, well, wherever he ends up. I don't know if there'll be any sort of investigation or whether the two teammates will just sort of talk that collision out. But let's see the gap that Valentine comes into then. As Louis sets a fastest lap of the race, he could be playing himself into a nice position because he's also in some good free air. He's ahead of Suko at the minute and might have a good chance of making some ground on Baraka, Gill, Ash Best, etc. But Valentine has 8 seconds of clean air to play with.
And I think that's crucial because if you come out in traffic, then you're going to lose so much more time, and the overcut would work in that sense as well. But I'm a bit shocked as to why Baraka didn't follow the likes of Valentin in, because he can see him in front of him, but maybe he thought that Valentin would get stuck in traffic, and he thought he might be the one that benefits from the overcut. But I'm almost certain that the top three would follow pretty much Valentin the next lap and go in. Baraka goes in, so does Gil as well. Be careful with the pit lane, and Ash Best did not follow our instruction, as he's also got a time penalty as well. It's quite a short pit entry as well, so it's quite easy to do. Ash Best goes on to the medium, so is Baraka and Gil. There is the esports pit release, which is switched on, I believe, for the session, which means you go when you get released and you don't get held up as much, which is good news. Where's Valentin then going into turn 1? He's ahead by quite a lot, actually, by 9 tenths. So only a few tenths difference than when they were before going into the pit lane. So Valentin did a pretty good job with his outlap before the likes of Baraka and Gil tried to close in as well. And shame with Ash Best for that 5-second stop go, because he has to obviously serve it in his final pit stop. Because again, there's no way the mediums are going to get to the end. And another penalty for Mr. Will Murdoch. So I believe he's now on 6 seconds. But that leaves Daniel, CC Brain, Paxi. No, actually, no. Daniel, CC Brain, and Netsky out the soft runners to pit. And then we got all the others who are on the mediums. Obviously, they'll be waiting for a little bit longer. As CC Brain and Daniel, well, CC Brain was having a fight with Daniel in the pit lane, as he goes into the pits to do the undercut on Daniel then. He didn't have trouble speeding into the pit lanes, he did not, which is good news. But Valentin is your net race leader at the moment.
Tell you what, CC Brain really had to thread the needle there to try and get into the pit lane, because that was a genuine DRS overtake he'd made. And he had to cut back across Daniel avoid getting in the way of Paxi, who was also trying to pass Daniel into that final chicane. The Mercedes certainly looking so strong at the moment, it has to be said. As we have yellows for Will Murdoch.
That is a Mercedes.
I think that is just a pit lane retirement, although the car is stopped. Is that actually an accident?
I'm just trying to see. It's hard to tell.
Has he binned it into the pit lane entry?
He might have done, actually.
His car's moving now. So perhaps it was just a genuine retirement, but the car is not meant to stop like that. Either way, it's not brought out any sort of safety car or anything. So I guess we just move on from that, I suppose. But that's Will Murdoch, our first retirement. But as I was saying, Paxi, his pace has been really good so far in this race. And with the free area he's going to have now, and no DRS threat from behind, and with Cohen holding up Netsky for another lap just to help that gap grow even more, can Paxi now try and pose a threat for a decent result today? Because I have a feeling that the other guys who might get caught in some fights, for instance, I mean, look at the lead fight. It's about Valentin, Baraka, Gil and Ash Best. That's going to get heated at some point. And with Paxi, I've got a good feeling about him, especially if he gets a lucky VSC or something.
Yeah, I think he has the pace at the moment. He's already gained a second on Cohen this lap as well, and I'm just looking at the difference between himself and Valentin at the moment, 11.3 seconds. He only needs to find about 6 seconds, and then he'll pretty much be the net race leader, because he'll probably go on to the mediums and then another soft at the end as well. He's going to be on softer tyres at the end of this race, so he's going to pose a very huge threat. I would say same with Cohen, but he's not as quick as Paxi at the moment as well. Paxi being brought into F2 this week, replacing Cornet in the Mercedes, and he's doing a pretty good job. And sometimes you've got to understand that even though you don't have the best qualifying, you may have better race pace, and that's what Paxi is proving at the moment, that you can overtake as well. As Cohen is in for an early pit stop, he probably wanted to do a short medium stint and a much longer second medium stint. Oh no, but it is a front wing damage, so I'm guessing he wants to get rid of that front wing damage early on. I don't know where he got it actually, so he may have got it when we weren't looking, but he's in anyway. His first stop out the way.
I think Paxi will be encouraged to see that Netsky did 11 laps at the start of the race on those soft compound tyres. It means he's not going to really have to worry about when he makes that last pit stop 4 softs. Same with the other 5 drivers who are out there looking at doing that sort of same strategy, and Cohen I suppose as well, despite his damage. They'll be looking at doing
I suppose, a pit stop around, what, lap 23, 24 maybe?
Yeah.
To do some proper undercut work and probably pit around the same time, maybe as the leading pack if they can, but I'd imagine a lot of them will try and get a couple laps undercut, but it looks good for them at the minute. And we'll have to see how it all develops right now. Depends as well a lot on how Valentine, Baraka, Gil, Ash, Best all deal with their races. Are they going to sit in line and just be patient? Are they going to catch up to Benny, Jensen, Hadler and Fabi? I think they are, and that might slow them down plenty enough. So yeah, keep your eye on that Mercedes at the front pack. It's a really nice position at the moment.
Yeah, but he is, and there could be a safety car. I'm quite surprised that we haven't seen a VOC or a safety car yet as well. So maybe Paxy's praying for the safety car to come out. Same with Fabi as well. He's also had a very good race on those medium compounded tyres as well. But the others, I think, will need to pick up the pace just a little bit. And the top 5 as well, no penalties so far. So they're keeping it steady, but they're probably going to push at the end. So we may see more penalties from them. I think I just saw Benny get the fastest lap. I might be wrong. It might have been the likes of Valentine or Baraka or someone else. But it was someone that just picked the fastest lap. It was definitely on the medium compounded tyres as well. And the top 5, well, the top 4 especially, of Fabi, Hadler, Jensen and Benny, they're also close together. It will allow Paxi just to pull away even more. And then Baraka is closing in on probably most likely the front lot, and Valentine as well. Valentine is not making any mistakes so far, as he tries to keep running as wide as he possibly can to avoid the wall of champions, because no one wants to hit that, especially if you won a championship in any league before. You just definitely do not want to be hitting that as well, because your first point in this league is on the line here, Valentine.
Yeah, we've got to remember this. This is him, Valentine, who's yet to finish a race. I wonder if he's looking sort of at that final chicane. We said how aggressive he'd been for there in qualifying. It's arguably what earns him pole position. That could be a real joker up his sleeve tonight, because he could be super aggressive at the end of the lap, and it could just leave Baraka like this the whole time, just unable to keep up. And we'll see how that develops throughout the race. There's always a risk he'll push it too much though, so yeah, we'll see how that works out, especially when he gets into the dirty air. For the first time today, Valentine faces a car in front of him and has to deal with the dirty air that comes off of that. And will you see him sailing off at a chicane at some point soon when he's just not expecting what's coming? Or is Baraka going to try and overtake him into the chicane? A risky one, this one, but he's going to make it stick. So, Baraka, go for the aggression. Was it too early? Because Valentine will obviously get the better exit. He's had the much nicer lines of the chicane, and we know how aggressive he is at turn 1. But that might go to the stewards. We'll see what they say about that. Baraka not leaving really enough room, let's be honest here, for Baraka, or for Valentine, who now falls down to a net 3rd place. There was contact into turn 1, and they were side by side the whole way down there. So, did Baraka leave enough room? What do you think?
Yes, I think we're gonna... It is hard to tell with the camera angles that I received on the game, so I think it will be up to the stewards to decide that one if they were to report it. I'm almost certain Valentine will report that, as Benny is being passed by Baraka now, so it won't be that long before the medium runners pit for their next set of the medium tyres. Or will they be going for the medium hard strategy, but they're going to be on the harder tyres, so I wouldn't advise for them to do that as well. And Valentine's now in a lot of traffic now, so he's got to pass not just the likes of Baraka, but he's got to pass Gil and Benny as well, and this is going to be a lot harder for him than he probably would have hoped so far. But I don't think it was his fault, but again, the camera angles didn't catch it nicely, so we won't judge it too much. Meanwhile, Gil tries to get past Benny, which he does, and he's good that he's cleared that, so now he can chase down Baraka for the net race lead. He hasn't won a race in a while, does Gil, but Gil seems to be doing pretty nicely at the moment. I think he started, P2 or P3 in this race so far, and he's still holding on to that, a net P3, a net P2 at the moment, so Gil's keeping it very, very clean. Let's see if he can keep it there for the rest of the race.
Yeah, of course, a former F1 champion, Gil, looking certainly to really get his second podium of the season. Would be his first victory if he can manage it. At the minute, he's on for second place in 3 races. Try and get your head around that. But Yeah, certainly the form picking up, and he wants to try and get through Baraka while he's in the traffic. Oh, and Benny has been put into the wall almost there by Valentine. He pushed him really close to the pit lane exit wall, or to the wall heading towards the back straight. And Benny, well, he might not be a big fan of that. I tell you what, Ash Best will be a huge fan of that, unless there's contact now as he tries to mug off Valentine. There is a bit of contact on the exit, but that was good stuff from Ash Best to see the opportunity into that final chicane. And now Valentine finds himself behind 3 of the main people on the same strategy as him. Even though Ash Best has got the strategy or the penalty to deal with, it's still 3 cars that Valentine now finds himself behind. And it's just not going to help his sort of mentality, I'd imagine. He'll be feeling a little bit hard done by here. And his race was looking so good. And he's now, how far is he now? He's only 4 seconds off Baraka. He's completely fallen off.
Yeah, so he might have picked off a bit of damage maybe from that contact potentially. I don't know. It was hard to tell. Maybe he's losing a bit of time as well. But I'm sure Valentine won't be too disappointed because he knows Ash Best in front of him had 11 seconds worth of penalties because he has a 5 second in the pit lane and then he has 3 seconds. So when he pits again, Ash Best, he'll be on 6 seconds, just like Netsky is at the moment. He's on 3 seconds. Louis on 3 seconds. Rita is on 3 seconds and Suku is on 3 seconds. Everybody else has got no penalties so far. CC Brain passes his teammate up into 9th place as well, and even CC Brain is catching up to Valentine. So definitely him going on is probably, his confidence has definitely gone, and his pace as well. He's probably not forgetting what just happened, but you got to throw that all out the window and concentrate the race at hand, because otherwise your race will just go from bad to worse. But CC Brain will definitely take advantage of that, knowing that Valentine is now having a nightmare of a race.
So that's a pit lane retirement for Gazizzle again there, the second one out of this race. Obviously, this top 4 and Benny are all just waiting to pit now. I mean, are they doing a one stop, do we think?
It's a bit risky, I would say, but the game says it could go for 19 laps on the mediums, but knowing the game, it could go out for a bit longer than that. Because I know there's some tracks where you can push those mediums for a bit longer than that. Meanwhile, Gil...
Wow, that is properly aggressive, isn't it? And Baraka, I don't think he saw that one coming, did he? As
No.
Gil really took advantage there of Jensen and Baraka going side by side in the hairpin, and Gil is now up into 4th place. I'm not too sure I want to call this the net lead anymore, because remember that Netsky did 11 laps on the sauce earlier on, and that was on a full tank of fuel. These guys aren't a million miles away from being able to make a pit stop for softs to go to the end of this race. I'd say they're about 3 or 4 laps away from it. So I think Paxi, he's got nearly a 6 second lead, like a genuine lead, and that would be superb, wouldn't it, if he can make this one stick? But I think that's what's happening.
Honestly, if these drivers could do it in F2, I'm almost certain there's going to be a few F1 drivers watching. They're probably going to try exactly the same thing as well. And I think Fabi is obviously loving life at the moment, but he's been pressured by the likes of Hadler and Gill. So I think Patsy could be the one that benefits, because he hasn't got an immediate car behind him, whereas everyone else has. So Patsy could go on for a bit longer as well, because he's definitely saving his tyres now. He's not saving his ERS though, he's on 11%. So even though he's at the front, I'll be saving ERS if I were you in some of the corners, but I'm guessing that he wants to be at the front when everyone pits. 12 laps the softs can go on for, probably even 13 laps if you're lucky. So around about lap 23, lap 24, they can go on to a set of the soft compounded tyres. Maybe Vaxi potentially. The mediums could last 19 laps, but yeah, with this game, it's definitely going to last longer. So Patsy's in prime position. Jensen, I think, dropped a little bit, but he's still in P6 right now, so he can still score some points. He's definitely having a better race compared to last week, where he crashed on the opening lap, with no fault of his own, of course, but he's having a much better race, showing that he deserves to be there in as full-time, of course, from F3, and now he's in F2, so he's showing why he should be moving up. Meanwhile, Gil is going to try and get past Hadler into the hairpin and try and clear some traffic, which he does, and now he's going to try and get past Fabi for second. So it won't be that long before Gil will be catching up to Paxi, I would reckon. But will it be too little too late? Gil gets past Fabi. And Gil is on a net race leader if Paxi doesn't fall on the edge of a cliff, which Gil is starting to catch up, so you never know.
Valentine's back on the scene, by the way, as Baraka gets himself alongside, but not past Hadler. So Valentine, right on the back of us again, trying to make himself work. Of course, we've got to ask the question if we think that Paxi and Fabi and Hadler and the rest are doing one stops. What's to say that the guys that started on softs at the start of the race aren't doing one stops as well? The whole field could be doing a one stop, and we've just been sat here talking a load of rubbish about this two stop. But we'll just have to wait and see, because these guys are fighting properly hard. It's not something you'd expect to see as Baraka passes Hadley. It's not something you'd expect to see on a one-stop race when you've still got 15 laps to go and you're on 12-lap old mediums, Baraka, and even worse for Valentine. But maybe they can. Maybe they can. Maybe we've passed that 19 laps now, and they're looking pretty fine. Even though Gil, it has to be said, is way faster than Paxi. But as long as he gets to that pit lane, still in the lead, I think Paxi will be more than happy. But let's see how this pans out. As Baraka is ahead of Fabi now, that'll give him a 2-car cushion for Valentine, who's now making it a 1-car cushion. It's getting himself back into this now. So let's see if he can keep the momentum up. This top 7, by the way, no penalties between them at the moment, which is really impressive and can be crucial at the end of this one.
Yeah, same with the likes of Daniel, Benny, Cohen, Recon. They don't have any penalties either, neither does Simo as well. So well done to those guys as well for keeping it steady at the moment. And Valentine's pace, he's hungry for it. And I wonder if he's had rage after the contact he had with Baraka maybe. Maybe it's pushing him to fight even harder to try and get back to where he was near the start of the race. He's not going to win probably unless Gil gets a penalty, but he definitely wants to try and get a net P2, which is still not that far off. But he needs to get past Fabi first, and he probably doesn't know that Fabi is trying the one stop potentially. Same with Baxi. I think these two are definitely committing to the one stop because they got to pit now if they commit in for a 2-stop. There's no point doing a 2-stop anyway if you're staying out now. So Valentine, Fabi's in. So Fabi is probably going early. I think they will probably go for softs. And if the mediums could last a few laps longer, I'm almost certain the softs will as well. So that's what they're committing. And Fabi's going for the undercut. Anybody. Cohen's got a 3-second time penalty. So we've got Fabi, Baraka, Hadler and Louis all in for the softs until the end of the race. So that's completely thrown our strategy out the window. We thought they're going to do soft, medium. Scrap that. They're now doing soft, medium, soft, apart from Fabi, who's doing medium to soft.
That is a crucial pit stop in this race for Baraka then. So he is the first one of the leading pack to commit that 2-stop. And that is definitely going to have to be an undercut attempt on Gil. And in return, I suppose, it's an attempt to catch up to Paxi a little bit more. Because I suppose they've also realised what Paxi's up to. And that'll surely lead to some pit stops on lap 23. It's when I said expect to see these guys pitting for softs, but they've gone a little bit earlier than that, so certainly they'll be doing it now, right? Surely Paxi will know what's just happened.
Yep,
and
he
indeed,
goes in.
He's into the pit lane. Gills decides to stay out a little bit longer. Is that a risk? Let's see. Is he going to try and get to the end of the race? I suppose he might as well. Valentine, I suppose, is doing the same thing. CC Brain stays out there. A few more pitting, Jensen and Ash Best. But is Gil and Valentine and CC Brain? Remember Netsky? We said he was looking not too bad. He's up there as well. Daniel, as you mentioned. These guys could all go to the end of this top 5. And Paxi is coming out ahead of Baraka. So those two will be going for that. But now it's Paxi, the lead man on the soft compound tyres, who is going to be going well, he's going to try and catch Gil. He's got 12 laps to do it. I'd still call him your favourite for the win, but let's see what Baraka can do.
4 tenths a lap with almost 10 laps to go. It's gonna be close. I think he's gonna gain. Easily. He's gonna gain.
He'll do that easily.
He's gonna gain 7 seconds at least. So he's gonna be in podium territory, which for him, after starting lower down, it's quite good. So
oh no, Baraka's had an accident. Straight into the back of Benny he goes. and that'll have to surely be damage. He's got a penalty for cutting the corner as well.
That's definitely
But
damage.
That has to be damage. He hit him so hard. And, oh, he's nearly into Hadler as well. Is that
I'm trying
him
to see if
preparing
that's floor. That might be floor. No, it's not floor.
into the pits? There goes a huge challenger and the championship leader. And that'll be a new front wing as fast as laps come flying in. But like I say, Paxi's now got 5.7 seconds of clean air. He could close that in 3 laps and be onto the back of Daniel soon. That's sort of what he's going to have to be going at. Just catch him as quickly as possible. And just hope that these guys at the front, their tyres don't make it. He should theoretically have the pace, but it's just how quickly he can get through the traffic. As Baraka, you can see him now, is coming out of the pit lane. And he's down all the way in 16th place. A simple mistake hitting the back of Benny. And it's cost him so dear. And that means that we're now potentially looking at Fabi taking the championship lead, because he's sitting in that second right now. And he'd be gaining more than 6 points. What's he getting? He's going 12 points. He'd be making
He's on 46 points at the moment in the championship.
He's making potentially enough here to overhaul Baraka. Just depends how quickly Baraka can get back up and how everyone's pit strategies end. But this could be a championship leader for McLaren tonight. Obviously, not literally yet, because Wouters and Cornet are still technically at the top. But
I think after tonight, if obviously the likes of Fabi scores 13 points or higher, I'm almost certain that Vals will be knocked off the championship lead. So Fabi's got a point to prove. So he's got a point to prove out of anybody else that he's been consistent. Don't forget he got podium last week in Portugal as well, which he was not expecting. And I even said to him about certain things, which I'm not going to repeat on stream, because if I do, I'm worried he's going to have a nightmare. So I will repeat it if he does get into the podium interviews again, which is still plausible at the moment with how much grip these softs have at the moment. Louis, I believe, picked up, I think it's another one. Yeah, it is another one. So he's up to 6 seconds. So that just leaves only a few drivers to pick up a penalty. That's Ash Best on another one as well. So I believe that's 12. No, that's 9 seconds for Ash Best as well. Surprised to see a lot of drivers still with no pens. So it shows they've been practicing a lot. So Paxi starting lap 27, I believe. And he's now 3.2 seconds behind Daniel. But Daniel not far behind Netsky. So he's going to be ahead of Netsky anyway due to penalties. But I'm sure he want to get them on track. But I wonder if he's thinking strategic here. Does he want to get past them, or does he know the soft runners are catching? And if I was Daniel, I would want to try and get past Netsky, knowing the threat behind.
yeah, you got to have that little bit of a cushion, haven't you? Because I think it's inevitable that the soft runner will catch. But it is only one soft runner he has to deal with right now. Hadler and Fabi were too busy fighting with each other to maybe sort of catch Paxi, as Hadler is ahead of the McLaren now. But they're still catching at a rate of knots. Paxi is still closing about 1.5 seconds per lap on Gill. Like I say, if it was a straight fight, Paxi would have a good shot, but it's just that Gill has got that 4-car cushion. He would need Paxi, potentially some sort of safety car, or I don't know, something to help him catch up a little bit more. But let's see if he can do it on pure pace. If he can get past these 3 easily enough, then it'll give him a shot. But I just don't think that's going to be possible as he starts lap 28. I mean, there's 8 to go. He's got 8 seconds to catch. I mean, let's see.
I can't do maths, so I'm not going to work out how much he needs to gain to make sure that he can challenge the likes of Daniel and Netsky. But he's doing well. He's within 2 seconds at the moment of Daniel and Netsky. But he would even get P4, as I think that was another warning for Paxi there as well with his corner cutting warnings. But I think Paxi knows that they've got a train behind of Hadler, Fabi and Louis, so they're probably liking that these 3 are battling for position as well on those soft compounder tyres. And there's some other drivers that are wanting to make the one-stop strategy work with the likes of Recon and Rizet. I don't think they will, but I'm almost certain Gil, Valentine and CC Brain will be able to make that work. And look at, I'm just seeing Netsky's run on CC Brain. He's a lot faster than CC Brain going on this back straight. So I think Netsky will get the podium off CC Brain for now. And he nails that final corner. So yeah, Netsky up into 3rd. But does he have the pace to catch up to the top two? It's going to be hard, but Netsky's proven he could do it in the past, but he's going to drop quite a lot of positions due to the penalties he's got.
Yeah, I think it's not really a matter of beating the guys in front now. It's a shame for Netsky having these 6 seconds. If it was at least 3 seconds, he'd be able to do something with it, but he could get swallowed up by the pack. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Baraka has now retired in the pit lane, so that means he's going to get no points whatsoever. But it doesn't look like the likes of Fabi, Hadler, etc. are catching quick enough to maybe challenge that podium. But look, anything could happen in these last few laps. Paxi, he's now on the back of Daniel. Not an easy overtake to make though when you're 4th in a DRS train and not high on ERS. And this is where he's going to lose time. And this is why I was saying about him not quite closing that second lap like you'd think, because this is where the dirty air really affects you. As CC Raid's all over the back of Netsky, that could help him as Fabi Ray overtakes Hadler on the back straight into the last chicane, and I think there might have been a car off as well of Louis. He's recovered back on. Look at this now. Paxi is just stuck behind Daniel. He's going to have to start pulling out the really creative moves if he wants to have a chance. And he's got a podium in fairness, guaranteed now, hasn't he? If he stays
in his
here,
first
but he wants
race.
more than that. He wants more than that. Surely he wants more than that. He's got the pace to get more than that. He's got the time to get more than that.
I wonder if we see in F2 history, I wonder if we see a debutant get on the podium in his first race. Obviously, apart from the first season, that doesn't count, but in any other season...
He's got Daniel, surely.
Yeah,
this
he's
is
got
good.
him. I think he's got him. I think Daniel's backed off a little bit. I think he knows he had to pick his battle there. As Paxi is now up into P4, actually a net P3 at the moment. So as long as he keeps within these drivers, Asuku's out the race and he's retired in the pit lane. So again, that will be no safety car. I think it'll be too late for a safety car at the moment. So they just got to sprint to the finish now with 6 laps to go almost. As we're on yellow flag sector 3, which will be for Suko's AI car. And it is lap 31. Scrap that fact. But yeah, now Paxi's going to have a similar situation with what he had to Daniel.
Oh,
he's so
wow,
much
look at
faster. He's so much faster into turn 4. Surely he's not going to risk it there. He doesn't. He didn't want to get involved in too much. You don't want to be taking too much gambles, but he also knows that Fabi is also catch with the way this train is growing. So, but I think Paxi's going to make a similar move to what he did to Daniel, maybe. But a few corners earlier, yep, he does. Paxi is on it today, and he's up into 4th place. And he almost got a penalty there. He almost got a penalty there, but Valentine did.
Yes, that's a now 2nd place for Paxi. So basically, what he has to do, nothing really to lose. Let's just put the foot down and try and catch Gil. He's got to now make these moves one by one still. I think he should be able to make DRS moves a lot easier now that it's not a train. And he sort of needs Gil's tyres to fall off the cliff as well, which would help. But let's see. As Gil starts lap number 32, I mean, those tyres, you said 19 laps, and look how far they're going to end up having to go. They're going to end up going...
It's just a game. It's just a game line, I'm guessing.
What's it, 27 laps they're going to have to end up doing. That is no small, rise. That is much bigger than expected. I mean, they must have done their race simulations beforehand, though, to know that was going to work. But will it? Because you could look very smart right up until the last lap. I mean, we've seen it before in this league. Danny Moreno had it happen to him in a PSGL F1 once, where he had a puncture in the final lap in Spain and lost the race. It can happen when you're on these really worn tyres. But let's see Paxi now. As he's all over the back of Netsky, he has way more ERS than him. He will surely get past on this back straight. And after that, he'll be just 2 overtakes away from victory. And it wouldn't be the first time we've seen a last lap pass with a win here on this track. And it's possibly on the cards tonight in the game. And obviously not in real life, not nearly as dramatic as Button and Vettel. But listen, it could still happen regardless. He needs to get in the DRS of Valentine, and he will be automatically because he already had the DRS off of Netsky, and that'll help him close up to Valentine to possibly have a try on this lap. And then after that, he'll somehow have 2 laps to try and get Gil. Let me just check Gil's warnings, because if Gil sees the pressure, he might start making mistakes. He only has one warning now, so he should be okay with that. So all he's going to have to worry about at the moment is his tyre life. And, well, I don't really know. I still don't quite want to call this yet.
I don't. I'm not calling anything because last time I called something, they binned it. So I'm not going to say anything right now. Paxi then. He looked way too comfortable there into turn 8. He knows he's faster and he's got a few more laps to do it. Paxi's into P2 and he knows he's got a race victory on the cards if he could pull the pace as well. And I think you could see Gil nearby as well as he reached the hairpin. So it's going to be tough.
Oh.
It's going to be tough. I make sure you're listening. Don't tune to F1 yet. This is where the action is about. F2, where we've got Gil versus Paxi, veteran of PSGL versus a man who is making his debut in PSGL F2 today. I think it's his first race in PSGL as well, but Connor could correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we've got Daniel that's making a move on CC Brain. He's taking a tight line into turn 1. He's going to go to the right-hand side a little bit. CC Brain saying, no, you haven't none of that. Into turn 2 and 3. And Daniel, could he get P4? 3 into 4, 5 into turn 4? Yes, he does. Daniel's up into 3rd. Patsy now 2.7 seconds behind Gil. Now 2.6. And the question is, he only needs to be within DRS range. I think the back straight of turn 10 and 11, really, in order to stand a chance. But he's already gaining a lot at the moment. It's gonna be close. I think Gil may just have this in the bag by the way he's doing it, but Patsy's not giving up without a fight.
He's in position here to potentially have DRS on this back straight for the final lap. And
yes,
they're both quite similar on ERS as Netsky and Valentine fight away. Obviously, Netsky's penalty a lot bigger than Valentine's, unfortunately. Paxi as well. I don't want to get into the devious tactics as Daniel now makes the move on Valentine. And that is an important move. That could be podium. And we're so late in the race. Valentine's having an accident, but it's Daniel who ends up in the wall. And so he's going to lose out. But CC Brain now moves through. He's into what would be a net 3rd place now. The final lap has started for these guys, and we'll see who ends up where, because Paxi's still moving. And I don't want to go into devious tactics here, but he does have one corner cut to play with here, does Paxi, if he needs it. Gil hasn't got that, and it seems a cruel thing to say, but if you see Paxi taking a shitty corner cut, and I mean, it's not illegal, is it, to take a warning?
Yeah, it's not. So he could take a warning here if he wanted to, which he decided not to.
Not going to get into DRS range. Yes, it needs. Gil just needs to get through this last corner without cutting it, and he'll take the victory. And it'll be his 2nd podium in the last, 4 races. And it would be a 1st victory of the season, and a potential late title charge being put on the cards. I mean, with that many people leaving at the top, who knows who'll win this championship, but Gil's certainly putting himself up there. He had such a good race, and he's going to come round the final corner. He's making the one-stop work, 27 laps on those tyres, and it is victory for Gil here in Canada, and I cannot believe this. Gil, or Valentine, sorry, has just picked up a 10-second penalty. He has finished for the first time.
He's not going to get points.
He's cut the last corner, and he still finds himself on 0 points. Paxi then 2nd. Fabi, I think, takes the championship lead with this, finishing 3rd. Hadler is in 4th. Jensen 5th. So Haas actually have 2 cars in the finishing order. Only one of them in the points though. CC Brain is 6th. Netsky, Daniel, Louis, and Cohen will be at the top 10. But let me just see here. So you get 10 points for finishing 3rd, and Fabi was only 6 points behind Baraka. So he's now level on points with Cornet, who's obviously gone, and Voucher's obviously gone as well. So that technically means that we have now got Fabi as our championship leader, who takes his, what's that? Must be his
3rd
podium.
Fourth podium
of the season.
3rd, I think. Oh, 4th. Oh, yeah, he got 2nd in France.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he said France, Belgium, Portugal, and now Canada. So 4 podiums and the championship lead. So not a bad day at the office for the McLaren driver. I don't think he would have been expecting that after qualifying. And he only qualified in P12, but there you go, that's where it ends up. And you can see with that top 5 just how weird the strategies were, because Gill, fair enough, won from 3rd, but then Paxi from 11th, Fabi from 12th, Haller from 14th, and Jensen from 18th. Even Netsky from 16th and Cohen from 13th. All these guys from outside the top 10 breaking into the points and balancing the pole sitter, not even managing to score a single one.
Yes, but the good news is, though, since Jensen is now full-time, has finally scored their first points of the season and their first finish as well. They both finished the race, but Haas scored their first points with Jensen, so I'm sure Haas will be very proud with that. So let's go through your results. We've got Gil from Paxi, Fabi, Haller, Jensen, CC Brain, Netsky, Daniel, Louis and Cohen. They'll score points today, provisionally, of course. Then we got Valentine, Benny and Ash, Beth, Rita and Simo are your finishers, and then your retirements are Suko, Baraka, Kazizzle and Real Murdoch. No safety cars, no VS seats either. I was expecting a safety car to ruin everything. I was expecting rain as well, but we didn't get any of that. So thank you, game, for giving us a dry race, because I think that spiced things up a bit, especially on the final lap. But there's a lot of drivers on the day there, but one of them I have to give to Paxi for making the one-stop work and almost getting the victory. If there was one final lap, I think he would have won it.
Yeah, it was absolutely a fantastic drive from him. We sort of put him out early as well, didn't we? Saying he had a real shot. So it's good to see him come through with that, and a good start to his PSGL career. Hopefully we can see wins from him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I hope so too as well, and maybe he could still, I don't think realistically he could be in the championship fight, because obviously we've still got 5 rounds to go until the end of the season, but he could still gain quite a few positions, and maybe, because we did see reserves in F2 last season be a similar position to what Paxi is, and they got the jump up to F1, so maybe this is the start of things to come. If he has a good end to the F2 season, maybe he can prove Connor and Kryptonite that he deserves an F1 seat, but he's definitely proved himself tonight. As usually Fabi likes to come and talk to us, so we'll wait for him to come up and talk to us. But we're not here next week, we got a break week, but the week after, I need to check where we are. We are on the 1st of November, at the beginning of the month. We are at Japan in Suzuka, where that's provided interesting battles in the past. Looking forward to that one, but don't expect us to stream next week. There's no stream, so it gives us the drivers and us to have a nice, well-earned break. And I think the break week is for the US Grand Prix for the Sunday tiers, but they don't want to have a race for the Thursday and Monday tiers, but no race for the others. So they wanted to keep consistent, so that's why every PlayStation tier is going to be having a week off. Is Fabi joining us? Yes, he is joining us. So I'll drag him in and see if he can hear us, so he doesn't get a shock like he did last week. Fabi, you probably wasn't expecting that podium, weren't you, after what happened in qualifying? What a comeback drive from you!
Yeah, thank you. I didn't expect that, to be honest. I don't know what to say. It's just like a miracle that I'm finished at P3. 0 warnings.
Wow.
Clean drive, and only Paxi was better on the alternate thread.
0 warnings around Canada. You got to teach me some lessons, because I usually get penalties around there. So excellent job there as well. But talk us through what happened in the race as well. Knowing that a few people were pushing the mediums, they were doing a one stop to the end as well. Knowing that it was a 2-stop on the last year's game, were you expecting it to be a 2-stop here? When did you know there was going to be a 1-stop?
It was hard to say what the fastest strategy is, because everything has worked. I tried everything out with Paxi, and when I started P12, I knew I had to go for the one-stopper, and it paid out.
Yeah, what were your tyres at the end of your medium stint?
I think they were crying so much.
60, 70?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I didn't look at the tire wear because I was so focused.
That's boo. But if you were struggling at the end, there probably were around 60 to 70. So fair play for getting those ties to the end there as well, and that does put you in the championship lead at the moment. You're joint with Cornet, but since he got promoted to F1, you are technically the championship leader now. How does this feel? What are you going to do to make sure that you capitalise on the final few rounds? Obviously, we've got a break week next week. Are you going to be relaxing next week, or are you going to be going guns a blazing, finding those extra lap times on Japan maybe?
It's I think it's for the first time that I'm leading our PSGL league. I can't believe it really. It's fun, and I'm going to relax the next 7, 8, 9 days, and then start to prepare for Japan next midweek maybe.
Yeah, maybe a recharge will probably help you a little bit as well. And I was trying to say something on the stream about you, your last podium, last points you got a DNF, but luckily the last points you got last week didn't end up in a DNF, so I can finally say that now. So if I was scared to say it in the stream, so I was worried you were gonna have a crash, but you didn't as well. But who would you say now is your championship rival now that the likes of Cornet and Valdes are gone? Do you think Baraka is still your championship rival, or do you think you can beat him?
So Wouters has 64 points, so I have to beat him first.
Of course.
even if he is in F1. No, now honestly, I think Baraka is super fast. I think he got a bit unlucky with some accidents with Benny, I believe, and Hadler is also fast. He was also behind me. Kasistel doesn't score, Soku doesn't score, I think. Netsky got a few points. I think it's going to be tight till the end.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing you develop for the rest of the season. Owen, do you have any questions?
No, I haven't really got anything. I think Jess pretty much covered it all. I just want to say enjoy the break, and we're getting quite used to speaking to you now, so I sort of hope we'll speak to you next time in Japan as well, because you're getting quite good at this now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Most reliable person in the interview box. Most reliable person in the interview box. And hardly anyone else who goes on the podium ever shows up. So, but for our sake, we kind of hope you get on the podium again, so we can speak to the drivers, because we like speaking to drivers. But yeah, anyway, well done on another P3, your second podium in a row, and your second P3 in a row. Congratulations on the championship lead. Enjoy your break.
Thank you. You too, guys. Bye.
Cheers. And I think we are going to wrap up, unless Paxi wants to speak to us, which I don't think he does. So we're going to end it there. Make sure you stay tuned in for the rest of the evening for F1, which is on towards the end of their qualifying session. And we also got, I'm trying to figure out what streams I should know. I think it's F5, F6 and F8 on now, so if you want to check those streams out, they're live on the PSGL channel. Then we got PC, they were doing their Canada rounds this week with F3 on Wednesday at 7 and Thursday F2 at 8. And then obviously we have our own break week, so we get a week off, and then the following week obviously we got us at Japan. So for myself, Jessica Ball, and for Marion White, we will see you in not next week, but the week after for the Japanese Grand Prix. Don't expect us to have a stream next week, so don't you dare tune in. Wait for another 2 weeks. See you soon. Have a good evening, and goodbye.